Although your skills and qualifications were impressive, said it. It has to be. Why would they be lying? I think I should rework my resume. A resume has everything you did that would be useful in your job. Clearly, I did not do enough. To decide what to learn, I did some research on LinkedIn. Looks like someone made a typo. There is C hashtag though. I finally settled on React and decided to learn it by building a simple weather app. Hey, it's me from the future. Sorry for spoiling it, but it was not as simple as I thought it would be. To get started, I went over to the React documentation, but they kicked me out and asked me to use Next.js. So I quickly started a Next.js project, but before jumping into the weather app, to get some basic understanding of React, I built a quick game. And let's call it, a clicky game. That's a good name, right? While I build this game, I will try and explain the basics of React. You have a function that returns some HTML, and this is called a component. And the arguments you pass into this component are called props. And these components are reusable, and the HTML written by them is finally rendered on the screen. That's React. Objection! Okay. There's more to React like state management, component lifecycle, and a lot of other advanced stuff that I'm simply glossing over. You can find tutorials on YouTube that can help you. To build an app that displays weather, we need some weather data. I don't know about you, but going to every country every hour to collect it seems like a lot of work and quite expensive. So instead of doing that, we'll be using an API. What? You don't know what an API is? An API or an application programming interface is a way for two or more computers to communicate. I found this website which provides a lot of data. I picked out a few data points that I need to build the interface which I have in my mind. I will be grabbing that, also that. After some testing, I noticed that this is going to fetch data every time the app reloads. You can see how that's a problem, right? To solve this, we need caching, and we are going to use TanStack query. So I looked up some tutorials on how to set it up, and I have literally seen the word error like 25 times in the last 10 minutes. I wanna commit die. I just want to get something on the screen at this point. So I had no choice but to consult with the AI overlords, turning to the dark side. And they bestowed the knowledge of server-side and client-side components upon me. Man, that sounded way more dramatic. Probably I should remove that from the video. Anyway, the moral of the story is I had to use this on top of a couple of files, and that error got fixed. Moving on. I have divided the app into 4 components. I made the files as placeholders and also some functions to get data. First on the list, the current weather component. This component contains the name of the city, the current temperature, weather code description, the highest and the lowest temperature of the day. This 0 you see is a boolean, which I'll use to display a different image based on the time of day. Next, the early forecast component. It has the same stuff, but this component was a little more complex because I had to deal with the sunrise, sunset, the current time. So yeah, this was a little complex. Next, I built the daily weather component. This has the day of the week and other weather related things. But the innovation here that makes my app stand apart from Apple is they don't show UV index in this table. For the search bar, I'll be using a pre-built component. I'm sure people won't be upset that I'm using someone else's code to build this complex feature. And I've also added another API for auto-completing the locations in the search bar. A little confusing, huh? Let me explain how these APIs are interacting with each other in the app. So we have an API for cities, autocomplete, which takes in a few letters and spits out an array of all cities which we are showing here. Then this location name must be converted into latitude and longitude. For that we are using a geocoding API, which takes in a location and gives us the latitude and longitude. Finally, we pass this into our weather API to get the weather information. Are you still following? I've also used the browser API to fetch the current location of the user. So if you allow browser to use location data, then it will show you the weather of your current location. Finally, we have an app that is functional. Now it's time to make it look good. First, let's get some images into the app. So I picked this image set and started mapping out the weather code to the weather code description and the weather code images. And I've also appended these strings which will make it easier to get the image depending on whether I want to show it for daytime or nighttime. We are using Tailwind for CSS. It provides us with these utility classes which we can directly use to code CSS inline, which makes it a bit easier. And I've also added this button which toggles between Celsius and Fahrenheit for those who don't use the metric system. I went component by component, adding CSS to all elements, trying many things, seeing what works, what doesn't. You know how CSS is. And with that, we are finally done. Wait, what is that? Why doesn't my website have it? I did some research, and that is an icon for a PWA. These apps run on your browser engine and give you the experience of an application that is installed on your machine. Sounds cool, but do I really need it? I made it a PWA. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it was definitely tedious. I had to make my CSS responsive so it looked good on mobile. Also added a small pop-up that prompts you to install the app, and the rest is creating a web manifest and a lot of configuration in Next.js to get the app working properly. So I pushed the code to GitHub, deployed it on Vercel, added it to my resume, and applied to a few companies. Quick update, I still got rejected. But documenting this process was really fun, and I thought I'll put it on YouTube. It might help someone in the future. So, what's in it for you? An app that is free, you can use it on your PC or your mobile phone. The link to the GitHub repo is in the description. You'll get all the instructions to set it up. If you're watching this, you're most likely a programmer and even more likely a web developer. So, if you find any bugs or want to add any features, you are free to make contributions to the repo. And even if you're not a programmer and you're facing any issues, there is an issues tab in GitHub where you can post your issue. Bye.